It's all right. I wouldn't say anything.
We're in live, Stewart, and you are welcome to say whatever the hell you like, mate. On and base, welcome, Stewart Gilchrist. Thank you so much for coming on board and saying a little hello to everyone for the Yoga Stops Traffic event that you are very kindly going to be teaching a live class for. Yep. So if you could just tell us a little bit about your vibe, what you stand for, like what your class is all about. Let's have a little natter.
Well, my classes are quite weird. I've started calling them modern postural yoga just to annoy academics, really. And then most of my classes are scheduled as yogasana classes. So I don't teach many public classes anymore. I used to teach a lot of public classes. I teach maybe about 6 or 7 times a week public, as in studios or at the moment online. The rest of the time I teach people that I've been teaching for a long time, either one-to-one or I teach my teacher training group. So I've got a small 20 people teacher training group at the moment. So I mostly teach yogasana and I teach dynamic physical asana, and I try to incorporate as much history, philosophy, politics, anything to do with real life and not to do with academic, scholastic life, which I am part of as well, because I'm doing an MA in yoga tradition at SOAS with the possibility, hopefully, of going on to do a PhD. And so I try to integrate as much philosophy into a yogasana class as possible. So I trained as a Jiva Mukti teacher about 20 years ago. And so I was into Jiva about 20 odd years ago, and then I did the teacher training about 20 years ago. So I influenced hopefully them on lots of things to do with animal rights and human rights and civil liberties, and they influenced me a lot because they were the only people at that time who were willing to stand up on a pedestal and talk about vegan lifestyle and animal rights. And so I did teach Jiva for a while, but in the last 14, 15 years, I've just been teaching yoga. Right. And when people say, "Oh, what kind of yoga do you teach?" I just say there only is one real type, and there's yoga. There might be lots of different ways up the mountain. You can get to the mountaintop, but the mountaintop you get to is called yoga.
Brilliant.
It's a state. Yoga is a state you reach to, and yogas are all the way up the mountain as well. So I just tend to teach yoga now, and that includes everything I've managed to come across in the last 59 years.
Amazing. And I also like the way that with your yoga, you also integrate, if you will, a little bit of swearing and fun and when you do teach, which is wonderful because I've never met another yoga teacher who does that. I've always told myself off for doing that. So twins.
People where I was brought up swear. So swearing's even in the Daily Telegraph now. So swearing must be cool.
Do you reckon you did that?
There's a Nicolas Cage documentary about swearing that's just come out. And if you ever listen to Osho, not that Osho is one of my favorite people, but there's a really good Osho part when he talks about fuck.
Yes.
So
it's so good.
A lot of people, inverted snobs, try to use swear words, but they don't know how to use them properly.
Not like a good Scot. No, I fully agree. My granddad was Glaswegian and he could really throw them around willy-nilly and accurately all at the same time.
Yeah, and I don't think the swear words that I use are in any way harmful.
No, of course not. Intention behind them is just probably for a bit of a laugh and accentuation.
Yeah, and I think humour is one of the most spiritual aspects of our practice.
Great, and I've really enjoyed we've had a couple of chats. So I phoned you the other week, and I had a real few belly laughs with you. You're a human rights activist as well, which means that it really aligns with this particular charity. And when I sent you an interview by email, you came back with one of the most, I literally spat my tea out when you said that postural yoga is probably, soon to lose its head up its own arse if it doesn't start to do.
Yeah, I think it probably has done quite a long time ago. And it's just become this. Sometimes I'm embarrassed when I go out and people ask what I do, and I say I actually. But you might relate to this as well. When you're a lawyer, I used to go places and people say, "What do you do?" And I'd be at raves and parties and out hanging out with people, and I used to say, "I'm a plumber, or I'm a carpenter, or something, or I'm a builder." And I never owned up to being a lawyer because it sort of seemed like a bit of a wanky profession at the time.
Yes.
And it's the same with yoga now. When people ask me what I do, I look at them and I go, "Do I tell you the truth here?" Or I need to say, "Well, I'm actually out of work at the moment. I'm an actor, or I'm a plumber." And I feel embarrassed sometimes. I said this to the people on our MA course. You know, when you do university courses and you do all these, hello, Rach, what's your name? And could you talk a bit about yourself while you're doing this course? That is the most ludicrous thing that ever happens at any course. Right? But I had to do that like 6 or 7 times at the beginning of this MA. And I said, you know what? I'm really embarrassed to tell you what I do, because I don't want to be seen as a yoga teacher, because what a yoga teacher means to people nowadays.
Yeah.
And so I almost feel embarrassed. And then I actually am really honest now and say that I am a yoga teacher, and I have to go with it and explain that all yoga teachers aren't keep fit trainers, aren't personal trainers, aren't just working with your body. We're working with your mind, we're working with your soul, we're working with a lot more in-depth stuff than your physical body, as everybody does yoga to keep fit. So,
yeah. And bendy, don't forget bendy, Stuart. Strong and bendy. That's what we all want to be, don't forget.
Keep fit. So I think that's been coming for a long time, and we all saw it coming for a long time, and we all saw it going up its own arse very slowly.
Yeah.
We have all these new brands of yoga. It's a bit like mindfulness, how mindfulness has now become so mainstream and used by corporations, and mindfulness is used. Yoga, mindfulness, and breath are the exact same. The way they've been incorporated into neoliberal capitalism. And you can go on a mindfulness and a yoga course with the American Army so you can shoot better.
No.
Yeah, the whole purpose of mindfulness training in the American Army is so that you're a better shot. Now, that's what mindfulness has come to. And I used to teach, I'll say that quite openly, I taught 7 SEALs who lived in Italy, who were the top crack American soldiers. I taught them. And so they use yoga for people like that nowadays. So they're calmer. They're not going to suffer from post-traumatic stress after being out in operations. What do? They do yoga, and they do mindfulness, and they do pranayama. They do breathing exercises. So
wow,
that is the extreme of what it's come to. And that's actually something I'm researching at the moment, how those 3 aspects of the well-being industry have been so manipulated by the army, education, and corporate. They've all been incorporated. I've been asked to teach for Morgan Stanley. I've been asked to teach for all big corporations. Why do they want me to teach their employees? Because they're stressed out, because they're suffering from tension, because they're not so productive, and they need a yoga practitioner. Why don't they ask the question in the first place of why they're stressed out? Because you make them work 16 hours a day, and you stress them out in business and in the marketplace. That's why they need yoga. Why don't you just address the initial problem?
Yeah.
Why did a 14-year-old boy from Peckham need mindfulness training? Because society is racist towards him. For one reason, that could be it. Because he's gay or bisexual, or he's non-binary, and he has a lot of pressure on him. He may well need breathing exercises.
Yeah.
That's not going to alleviate why he feels like that, is it? Do you know what I mean?
No.
That's how it elevates.
So what you're saying is that basically yoga needs to be off the mat as well. Like, it needs to be in society. There needs to be change. There needs to be education around it. Yeah.
When we started, there was a big movement that was called Off the Mat into the World. take you off the mat and into the world. And you know what? I'd say the way I've watched it develop in the last 10 years is on the mat, into the gym, on the mat.
Up their own arse.
Yeah, and up their own arse, exactly.
Yeah.
Where they don't even teach the Sanskrit names of the postures anymore. They make up their own names, do you know what I mean? Which I do, but I do that as a joke.
That's for a laugh. That's a different thing. Yeah. Totally.
I do know the names as well.
I'm positive that you do, mate.
I know some of them. So I really think there needs to be a lot of criticism I get from other people is that yoga's not political. So I can take you to America and I can introduce you to lots of people from QAnon who are now teaching yoga, people who were Trump supporters who are now teaching yoga, people who are right-wing fundamental white supremacists who are teaching yoga. So if you're trying to tell me that yoga is not political, you're mistaken, because everything is political. Everything you do in the morning when you brush your teeth and you wipe your bum is political. The toilet paper you use, the toothpaste you use, the water you're using, it's political. So if that's political, then yoga must be political.
Yeah, I agree.
It must be. And the people who criticize you for being political are being political and not being political.
It's true. I know. It's so true. It's very well put.
Their apathy, their omission to act is political as much as my action, whether it's supporting groups financially, which I try to do. I try to support whatever active groups I can, some anonymously, some through my company, and some mostly through my work. But if I can't support them physically, I'll support them financially and try and help people.
Well, thank you so much, because I know that Yoga Stops Traffic is incredibly grateful. They rescue and rehabilitate women and children in India from, basically sex slavery. These kids get stolen from families, women who are poor, and it's horrific. So this is a real amazing charity that you're part of, and we're really, really grateful for that. So thank you, Stewart.
Pleasure.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to give you, if there's anything else you want to say, you can say it, but I can let you go back because I know you're a busy man.
No, I got a bit of time if you want to keep chatting. If you want.
I'm happy to talk.
So you know how to edit it, don't you?
Sorry?
You know how to edit it, don't you?
Oh, I do, but we're live anyway at the moment, but I can edit it back. But it's just a little chat.
Yeah. No. What have I got to talk to you about? Lots of things. Lockdown. Lockdown is a big subject, isn't it, for the last year? So we've been told we can go back on the 17th of May.
Yeah.
So, we can teach one-to-ones before that. But you have to be careful if you're teaching one-to-ones in England, because your insurance might not cover you. But corporate insurance covers you. So I don't know what it's like in Cyprus, but on the 12th of April, the gyms can go back, but the mat classes can't go back until the 17th of May. Right.
That's weird, because in the gyms you touch equipment and move around, but in a yoga studio you take your own mat and stay in your own space.
Yeah.
Odd.
Yeah, that's what we
You know what else is odd, Stuart, is that the restrictions come on a most auspicious date, which is they're released on the summer solstice. On the 21st of June. You can have as many people as you like together, but not before.
If it goes according to plan.
Yeah, exactly.
They basically have a plan. There's a great charity here, a group of activists called Led by Donkeys.
I love them. Yeah, they're amazing.
Led by Donkeys. I always think about when you say, this date, by this date, this is going to happen. By the 12th of April, this is going to happen. Remember, you're led by donkeys, and how many times they've said that is going to happen before and how wrong they got it.
Yeah.
If we've got this planned rollout, or whatever the 1922 committee or the Monday Club from the Tory party want to call it, because they want some roadmap. The roadmap depends on the data, as they want to keep telling you and keep informing you. And if the data is not right, we shouldn't comply with anything like that. there's a lot of anti-vaxxers out there. There's a lot of anti-pandemic people out there. But I'm totally for going as long as possible for it to be safer, because I've never trusted the worst government ever to have in a time of crisis is a Conservative government, especially when it's led by donkeys. And how many times have we been told that something's going to happen? This roadmap they've got is in the face of what the Chief Medical Officer, Chris Quickie, says. He did not agree to this.
Right.
Neither did Edward Vallance. They didn't agree to the schools opening on the 8th of March, and that is the government's Chief Medical Officer. He never agreed. That's happened about 3 or 4 times in the past, where they went against his authority and against his opinion, and look what happened before. So they went against Edward Vallance and Chris Whitty again. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will for sure.
Yeah, I think,
I'm still planning a nice little get together on the solstice, though.
Yeah, I mean, touch wood, we'll be all right, and everything will keep going down. And there is a big thing to a lot of people who might still be listening, and you might be an anti-vaxxer and you might be a conspiracy theorist. Trust me, I could be the worst and the biggest conspiracy theorist in the whole world. I could actually, after years of reading the Illuminatus trilogy and listening to David Icke and going to see different far out left field conspiracy theorists, being a raw foodist and being in that environment for a long time, being a fruitarian and living in Maui in California for a while. Trust me, I was surrounded by a lot of people who would be anti-vaxxers and anti-face masks and anti-pandemics. And I just want to say to them, go to Whipps Cross Hospital, go to St Thomas's Hospital, go to the Royal Free Hospital and ask if you can see the ICU. Ask if they can go and see the intensive care unit and see what the people are like there and see if they're not suffering. And talk to some of the nurses and doctors that have lost 900 of their staff. Over 900 people in NHS died in the last 11 months. But if you are one of those people who, I totally understand the opposition to civil liberties, human rights, the rollout of 5G, the rollout of other mind-controlling options and things. But do you know what? Just go to the hospital and see people. See people, because I suffered for 3 weeks with COVID, and I swear it's not a nice thing to have when you're 60. Wow. It's not a nice thing to lie in your bed sweating, and your body, you can't breathe properly, and your body's twisted and turned as if you've been in a fight for 2 weeks. Wow. And I beg people to go and talk to people that work in the NHS and work, and just to get over your whole dogma about conspiracy and about Bill Gates and about big business and about high tech and about vaccines are a way of controlling the population, and just go and see an ICU, an intensive care unit, and go and talk to someone who works in the NHS, or talk to one of the 127,000 people who have died, their families. Go and talk to them. So that's something I'd like to use as a platform, because I got quite criticised by some people I know, for wearing masks and having a vaccine. I took the vaccine straight away when I got off it, as someone who had bronchitis and had COVID. Right. And I want to travel. I want to go to India. I want to go to Sri Lanka. And as much as they're going to use it to control the population and the movement of people around the world, if I've got a vaccine, I've got more chance of going to India, more chance of going to the ashram, more chance of going to Sri Lanka, going abroad to where I usually go to. I'm not a great flyer. I maybe fly like 3 times a year, so I'm not a heavy-duty flyer, but I do cherish the times I do fly, and I make the most of them. So whether it's teaching and it's a retreat, whether it's in India or Sri Lanka, or it's to go and visit. Next week we're doing International Yoga Festival from Rishikesh, Paramat Nikatan Ashram in Rishikesh, and my classes are online for that festival. But last year I did it in person, and I would have did it in person this year. And one of the reasons I got the vaccine, because as soon as I've got my passport, I'll go to India as I can.
Great.
Because for various reasons, India never let me in for quite a while.
Oh, okay. And now you can.
Yeah, if you are a yoga teacher and you're listening, don't go to India without a work permit. Don't go to India without a work visa. Don't teach on a tourist visa.
Yeah.
I did it for 13 years.
Oh, really?
On the 14th year, I didn't do it. And then I wasn't allowed back in India. Because if they catch you, you'll never get back into India again.
Yeah.
I got back in on a voluntary work visa. But I was very lucky thanks to Paramat Nikitan Ashram. But you cannot go and teach in India on a tourist visa.
No, I mean the clue's in the title, isn't it? But you are a fountain of knowledge, Stewart, because I mean we have covered a lot of topics here.
That's something I don't want to happen to anybody else, to other yoga teachers, because I was quite happy going, because I know the way it works with the immigration authorities, and I knew it was safe going until you upset one of the local people, and once they report you and they're a bit sick of you coming to their area, their village, their environment. And they stop you coming, you'll never get another visa. No. It's really difficult to get back in. So,
it's a bit like that with Thailand, and I think that's the same sort of thing, So if you're a yoga teacher and you're going to India to teach, when you are allowed to again, don't do it on a tourist visa.
No, and probably be really, well, you're going to need a vaccine, you're going to need a fresh certificate of testing, and probably get tested on arrival as well.
Yeah, probably.
I think so. I don't think the anti-vaxxers will be going very far.
No. There is a middle ground as well, which is, so for instance, they've said to women who would still like to get pregnant that they probably shouldn't have the vaccine straight away, to wait a bit. And there's also the fact that at the moment the vaccine protects the person who's taken it, but they can still carry it.
That probably means that pregnant women won't be able to get into certain countries.
Maybe. Or not fly.
Well, at the moment, Germany doesn't let even professional footballers in who have all been tested. So Britain has by far one of the worst COVID records in the world. So, for example, what's happening now, Germany doesn't allow any professional football teams or sports teams into Germany. They are the safest people because they're tested so much and they're all clear of COVID. So, for example, last week, all the teams from England who were meant to play in Germany had the games in like Istanbul and Bucharest and Hungary, because Germany won't let anybody in. Australia will never let anybody in from the UK.
No.
New Zealand, no chance.
No way.
And you will need to be vaxxed. You'll need to be vaxxed. You'll need to be tested.
And quarantined.
Even if you're a pregnant woman. And the problem we have is our daughter and most of the people who have EpiPens, people with EpiPens, we don't know if it's safe for them to have the vaccine yet. Same with pregnant women, because they've never tested it on really badly asthmatic children.
Right.
So the people who take EpiPens, who have a reaction to nuts or to any allergic reactions, they don't know how they'll react to the vaccine. So that's another thing for some people who are on EpiPens and who have allergies and therefore can't have the vaccines, they won't be able to travel.
I'm wondering about autoimmune diseases as well. That's one of the reasons my mum's not sure, because she's got autoimmune diseases, which is where I was going with the middle ground, is because although mum's not an anti-vaxxer, but she,
that's understandable, isn't it? Completely. Yeah. But then it's also understandable that countries like Greece, who have 4 million British visitors a year, which is close to where you are now, probably the same mentality will happen in Cyprus. So the Greek mentality, according to the foreign minister last week, was we will welcome the British tourists back as long as they have a vaccine and a clear test certificate. And they said we have 4 million Brits coming every year to Greece. So they want their business back. They want the tourist industry back. But he was saying for Britain, before we consider it, you'll need to be vaccinated.
Wow, especially Britain, I guess, because Britain's had the worst.
2-1 per capita.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow.
Just up there with America, Brazil, and Italy. That's the ones that are going to struggle traveling. So
yeah, for sure.
Anyway, that's a real public service information broadcast for you on traveling.
I feel like I should have changed this bottom bit to the news by Stewart Gilchrist.
Remember when you were a kid, you used to get all those adverts about, open window, that's handy. Watch out for burglars and all that. Can you remember that?
Yeah.
There's all these public service broadcasts, and they were like about, open window, that's handy. Watch out, there's a thief about. And say no to drugs. Remember the heroin one?
Yes.
There was all that one. Just say no. And you had a sort of black and white fence with a little guy on smacks completely strung out. And it was like, so maybe we should just do public service broadcasting announcements,
I think that's a great idea, and I'm fully behind it, Stuart. Let me make a note with my very grown-up pen, my unicorn pen. I'll make a note of that.
I've got a Smiggle phone case somewhere with a pink unicorn on it, but
wicked.
Georgie's taking it somewhere. My 11-year-old.
Oh, great.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully I've not upset too many anti-vaxxers, because loads of my friends are anti-vax.
Oh, mate. It takes all sorts. I've got all of them in the gang. I've got the anti-vaxxers, the conspiracy theorists, the middlers. I've got all of them.
I've got all them in my head all the time. I've got to deal with that all the time. Yeah.
Excellent.
Being a radical fruitarian, like a peace-loving radical fruitarian, to having to conform to wear a face mask and get a vaccine. It's pretty radical for me. So
I love it.
Put up with the bullshit, so I don't mind, as long as I can get to India.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, thank you so much, Stuart.
Love you. Thanks. Hopefully it goes all right, and I'll see you on March 21.
Yeah, thank you.
Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, Equinox. Brilliant, mate.
Take care.
Thanks so much. Mwah. Love you, mate.
Log out.